Hello everyone, my name is Joshua. This is the 9th video of my video journal series. Today's date is the 17th of February 2026, and today's date is actually quite special to me. As of recording this, it is the 20th anniversary of one of my favorite TV shows called The Chasers Warn Everything. Now, if you're Australian, you might know about this series. It's a very famous, I guess it was famous, but still well known series here in Australia that's just turned 20 years old. The first episode aired 20 years ago on this date, and it's a series produced by our national broadcaster ABC that ran from 2006 to 2009. And I love this show. Most parts of it, some of it's a little bit too far for me, but I'll get into that later. And it's basically made by this satirical comedy group called The Chasers, and I can name all of them. So we got Julian Morrow, Chaz Licciardello, Chris Taylor, Andrew Hansen, and Craig Rucastle. They're part of a comedy group, like I said, called The Chasers, which were formed in, I'm pretty sure, the 90s. And they originally ran a satirical newspaper called The Chaser Magazine. And then after that, I'm pretty sure, started the Chaser website, which is basically like a parody of The Onion, if you know what I mean. It's just basically like satirical news headlines, politics. I've had some people compare this show to like Jackass. Some people say it's like the Australian political version of Jackass, which I can sort of agree, because the early Jackass movies came out at around the same time as this did, and I think it gave a lot of people like the same sort of vibes. And basically, where was I? Oh yes, I was on the Chasers history, and basically these guys, they did a television show called CNNNN, which is Chaser Nonstop News Network, plus an extra N. I don't know why they did that, because I think it's a running gag that they try like to copy CNN, like the real life American broadcaster. Then they just add an extra N to throw people off. And I always have to count my fingers, like N, because I think like a lot of people, they just forget that extra little N. But yeah, so their show CNNNN, Chaser Nonstop News Network. I think I'll just call it that from now. That was basically like, if you ever watch those old Onion videos that they released on YouTube, it's basically, I don't have the DVD here with me of their first TV show. I think that was the first, but I don't have it. I think it's available on YouTube, but yeah, it was basically a satire news show with all these fake headlines, basically presented in the style of an actual news program, but with all these funny headlines and satirical content, not to be really taken seriously. And then I'm pretty sure their second show was The Chasers Warn Everything, and I'm pretty sure this is like, in my personal eyes, the best. And I'm pretty sure there's an ad. I know I'm getting distracted, but I'm pretty sure there's an ad for CNN in one of these cases. Oh yeah, so you can see in this case, there's a Chasers Warn Everything, and then that was the show I was talking about. I think that was their first TV show. That's what the DVD looks like. I don't have it. But yeah, both very good comedy programs. And yeah, so they did the Chasers Warn Everything. Basically, the format of this show is you have these guys who, it's more like they talk to the camera and they just like present a bunch of stunts that they did, sort of like Jackass, where they go out in public, do these social experiments, go up to politicians, pull pranks on them, or just like ask them like outlandish questions. Like all these like different segments that basically made it like, I guess, satirize, like make fun of Australian politics, which I just find hilarious. And it's just like a variety show, sort of. You got like not even politics related stuff. You just got them like, going after big companies, going after like regular people, dressing up as like traffic wardens, or ticket inspectors and giving people false tickets with like outlandish reasons. It's not to be really taken seriously, but it's a very, very funny show. Um, Sometimes like they just do all these like crazy stunts that like generated a lot of media attention at the time. They were like some people heavily scrutinized them because they thought some of their stunts were outlandish. Like, I'm pretty sure you can see at the back there's a screenshot of an episode where one of them dresses up as like a Bulldogs football fan. Oh no, I think that's Melbourne Storm, but I'm thinking of an episode where one of them. Oh yeah, sorry. Bulldogs fiasco. So I was right. Ignore that. One of them dresses up as a Bulldogs fan, which, for those who don't know, the Bulldogs is basically like a sports team here in Australia, and tried selling like fake weapons to make like, I guess, a statement about how like violent brawls get at like rugby games here in Australia. And I think there was a specific thing they were trying to like parody or like satirize in that segment, based on like an old news stories about like how people use like weapons at real rugby games. I might be a little bit wrong about that, but basically, one of them tried selling. I think it was fake or might have been even real weapons. Whatever. They got into like big, big trouble, and that generated a lot of media attention. That's why it's called the Bulldogs fiasco. One of them tried making a Trojan horse and like, you know, trying like giving it to like Channel 9 or Channel 7. One of those media companies. And like, you think by now people will be like, oh, big massive Trojan horse, and maybe we shouldn't let it in. Maybe we should have learnt from history that not everything is as it seems. Yeah, so they did a lot of crazy stunts. One of them even got a screwdriver and tried to hug the Prime Minister of Australia at that time, John Howard. And you look back at it now, and you're like, how was this even allowed to go on air? Like, nowadays we got a lot of security, but like a lot of security checks, a lot of police guards presence, which is, I guess, one part a good thing. But this show really highlights how, I guess, like chill we were back in the 2000s when like this sort of stuff was be able to be pulled off, essentially. And I really have to get to it, but one of the most, I think this is the biggest stunt that they ever did, and it was totally by coincidence that they were able to pull it off. In 2007, there was this massive conference in Sydney held between the United States, Australia, and a bunch of other countries. It was called APEC. And what they did was they were like, all right, we're going to dress up one of one of the guys as, I won't name who, but I think you could tell from the picture that it was someone trying to look like a terrorist. I won't name who, but I think you know who that guy's trying to be. And they're like, all right, we'll dress one of them up as this guy, and we'll sneak him in through one of the restricted security zones, because throughout the event there were these different security zones. They blocked off some streets in Sydney because that's when all the politicians and world leaders were staying. So they're like, all right, just as a joke, we'll put many Canadian flags on the car, because Canada was not even at the conference. So they thought, like, aha, funny joke. It wasn't being taken seriously, at least so they thought. And actually, I should just bring this out here. And they went through. They thought they were going to be like rejected by security guards, but no. Surprisingly, the security guards let these guys who had no security clearance, who could have really posed a threat towards, it was the then president George W. Bush. They were literally going up right in front of his hotel room in Sydney. These guys could have really posed a major, major threat. Luckily, they were just only jokesters, but like still though. So yeah, they're allowed to go through the security zone, and at one point, they managed to right up, like literally get outside, right up to George W. Bush's hotel, the leader of the free world, and yeah, basically they were like, all right, if nobody's gonna catch us, this guy dressed up as you know who walked out of the car, and instead of the cops arresting this man, they ended up just arresting the drivers of the car instead. Which is like, if you watch the clip, the whole thing's just basically bonkers. It's like, you imagine watching this all the way back in 2007. Like, oh my god, no wonder it like, got a lot of people talking. And it really sparked a major outrage at the time. Like, how could like such a security overflow be, present when it's supposed to be like a high security event? And that's basically what the Chaser team were basically, I think, like trying to make fun of or trying to like expose. Like, let's see how far we can get into this ultra high security event when they ended up like literally going through some of the most restricted zones of that event by basically, doing nothing, just putting mini Canadian flags and setting up a false motorcade to make themselves look like legit. Like, I don't think you can even pull this stuff off today. Not that anyone should, but like it really just highlights how much society has progressed since then, especially here in Australia. Like, I remember one of the stunts they did in the series. I'm not sure which season it was. They had like this segment called Open Mic, and one of the guys, I think it was Julian Morrow, this guy over here, he went up to one of the airport counters and he went up like on the microphone and just did like a mini joke announcement, and the camera caught people like laughing and all of that, and it was just a harmless, seamless little joke. But like, I think to myself, well, imagine going up to one of those airport counters today and even getting access to that mic. Like, you must probably be arrested. But like back in the day, I guess people are a lot more, I guess, lax in terms of security, and I think these guys really highlighted how lax we were in security back then. And I guess like it's better that we're a little bit tougher on these sort of things, but I guess that's how satire really works. And you know they did a bunch of other stuff. Some of them I can't really mention here on YouTube, but yeah, like this show, despite like some of the really outlandish sort of content, it really is good, and I really enjoy some of the clips. And yeah, it was one of the highest rated television shows here in Australia, and by that I mean like watched. Back when people watched TV and they get in the ratings of how many people tune in per episode. I'm pretty sure it was like the second highest viewed television show in Australia at one point, where it had like 2 million people watching every episode live on TV. It was just like a phenomenon, basically. Um, and yeah, it did generate a lot of media outrage. A lot of people, said, "Oh, how can this crap be allowed on TV?" But look, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and the Chaser team are still around today, though I guess it's to a much lesser extent. I'm pretty sure the original guys have all moved on and done other stuff since then. I know Craig Rucastle now does a radio show on the ABC, and a few of them did subsequent shows. Like, I'm pretty sure all of them came back for Yes We Can, bruh, Media Circus, and the Checkout. Some of them did the Checkout, I remember, which were basically subsequent Chaser-esque shows, basically about like, well, I guess Media Circus. Oh no, so why am I saying Media Circus? It was the Hamster Wheel. Sorry, I don't know why I said Media Circus. Sorry. So they produced two more Chaser shows after this. They produced Hamster Wheel, and they produced Yes We Can, Bro. Both of them were quite short lived as well. And then the Checkout, which was basically like another show where like some of the Chaser guys returned for it. And it was basically a show about like consumer rights, um, getting the most out of your shop sort of thing. It was basically like a retail sort of show. Not really much like political themed, but it's still enjoyable whenever I see these guys doing anything, um, any stunts or any videos together. And I remember a few years ago they did like a special anniversary issue of the Chaser magazine. That one's in my bedroom. I should have bring it out here to show you guys, but yeah, I got a little bit of Chaser merchandise. I got the DVDs. I got some of the posters, and I've got what was it? The Chaser newspaper commemorative issue. But yeah, so I'm pretty sure the entire series is available on YouTube if you want to watch it. Um, and watch it with a little bit of discretion, but I like this series, and a lot of other people like it as well. And yeah, just happy, I guess, 20th anniversary to the Chasers War and everything. Um, it's still, I think some sections still hold up today on their commentary and stuff. And I guess this was really much like an informal video for me to make. And now my DVDs are out of order. Crud. 1.1, 1.2. This one's the third season. That one is. Sorry about this. I really get fussed about the order of my DVDs. And yeah, I guess it was a shame that this show ended only after season 3. I'm pretty sure they had to cut the series because I think they made like a pretty offensive joke in season 3, and I won't say what that joke is because like even I can admit it's a little like pretty far out there. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that had like some thing to do with its cancellation this show, but which is sad because like I wish the show went on for a little bit longer. A few more seasons. Um, but I guess like it wasn't really made to be a forever show sort of thing. Like some of the stunts they really did were really really, I guess, sort of dangerous, and I guess in today's political climate wouldn't really go over well by some people. Um, and it's basically what I view as the Australian political version of Jackass. It's like they do all these crazy things and people watch it. But no, it's a very, very good show. I highly recommend it because I think it's free on YouTube to watch. And yeah, all I have to say is one final time, happy 20th anniversary to the Chasers War and everything. That is it for today, and I'll see you tomorrow.